Welcome back. So you've been through the welcome workbook, done your pre-test. How'd you do? Was it easy? Hard? So that's going to be a little gauge for you to come back to over time and see what you learned throughout the program. Also, you've had a chance to take a look at the vehicle checklist, which is, well, as you've seen, it lists the major vehicles that we're going to be using throughout the program. Get you a feel for sort of where you're at and some areas that might be a benefit to you. But listen, in this module, we're going to be focusing on two things. We're going to be focusing on your blueprint, which is the foundational document for all of your marketing moving forward. We're going to create that in this module. And we're also going to start to look at some of the metrics in your marketing. There's two key numbers we're going to look at. That's in the second video. This first one is all about the blueprint. So, and there's 5 components there. There is your understanding your purpose of your marketing, understanding your ideal customer, who is it that you ideally want to be working with, your core offerings, that is the products and services you have to offer to the market. We want to focus on the most important ones there. We're going to look at your uniqueness, or we call it your USP, unique selling proposition, and guarantees, and also going to look at the level of investment that you want to use with your marketing. So with that, the first part there, if you've got your workbook, please, if you haven't, please print that off and go along with the video here, because I'm going to be referencing it throughout the video for you to work on some things there. The first part is the purpose of your marketing. Now, the purpose, this might seem kind of common sense or generic. You might be thinking, well, Jamie, the purpose of my marketing is to increase my sales, and hopefully that is one of the purposes of your marketing. We also want you to explore whether there's any more specific things that you really want to focus on. It might be to improve the referral rate of your business. It might be to position you a certain way in the market so you're perceived in a certain way. It might be to gain a certain amount of market share or to attract a certain type of customer. The more specific and clear you can be around that purpose, the easier it is to make decisions for your marketing moving on. So you'll see there in the workbook, there's some examples there to look at. And again, you're going to write some things down here, but don't feel the pressure to get it absolutely right. The same goes for all the way through this program. Simply just write down your thoughts. What comes to mind? What seems to be right? And then down the track, you might learn some more things or get a different perspective, and you can come back and change it, and that's fine. But for now, just start to have a think about and write some things down in the workbook there. You'll see some spaces to write. Start to think about, what do you want the purpose of your marketing to be, all right? Imagine you were interviewing a marketing agency and they're asking you how to give them a brief on what's the marketing got to do. Is it just around branding? Is it to go double your customer base? What is it you want your marketing to do? So take a moment and write down some thoughts on that in the workbook there. Okay, so you got some thoughts around purpose. That's great. Now, something I should mention is that these 5 things, the purpose, the ideal customer, the core offerings, the USP and guarantee and investment, these 4 components of your marketing blueprint, they're going to boil down to one page, and you can see that in the back of the workbook there. Just before video 2 is a 1-page summary. So once we walk through all the exercises for the blueprint, we're going to summarize them all and put them on one page. So you've got that document to reference moving forward. Now the next bit is looking at your ideal customer, and this is the part I love because it allows us to get very specific about who we want to be working with. Quite often when we start in business, we just sort of take the approach of whoever comes through the door, I'm going to serve them because I need the revenue. And certainly when you first start in business, that can be okay. As we get a little more mature in our business, we want to be a little more targeted in how we approach people, particularly when we're going to be investing time and money in marketing. We want to be very specific and targeted in who we want to attract in our business. So in this section on ideal customer, we're going to be doing a little bit of analysis. Don't be freaked out by that. Before we do that, I want you to think about your customers in terms of if you had to put them into 3 different categories. Now we call the 3 categories awesome customers. They're the best ones. These are the A's, the ones that you love working with and you'd love more of. Then you've got your steady Eddies. Your steady Eddies, they come and they do business. You like them. They provide revenue. They're good customers, but they don't sort of set your world on fire. And you don't get terribly excited when you get a new one. You're happy, but you're not like ecstatic or over the moon. And then you've got your PITA clients, and PITA stands for pain in the arse. And we've all got them, right? We've got those customers that sometimes we just wish we didn't have. And hopefully, maybe you don't have any of those, and that would be great. But we want to firstly start with, and this is very subjective, but for you, I want you to think about what are the characteristics of those three types of customers. What are your awesome customers like? Are they awesome because they pay on time? Are they awesome because they're happy? Are they awesome because they buy lots? Are they awesome because they don't complain? Like, what are the characteristics for your awesome customers? Take a moment to write that down. Once you've done that, then go do the same for your steady eddies and the same for your pitter clients. This is starting to form a shape and a picture of the sort of person that we want to be attracting through your marketing. So take a moment and fill out the awesome, the steady eddies, and the pitter client characteristics. Again, it doesn't have to be cast in stone. We're just starting to get the brain juices flowing here. So go ahead and fill that part of the workbook out. Okay, great. So you've done that. Now we're going to do the analysis part on your customers. And this is applicable if you existing business and you've got a database of customers and sales history. If you haven't got the data that you need that I'm about to run through, well, that's okay. It doesn't mean that you can't do any marketing. It might just start to give you some awareness of some of the information you want to start collecting in your system there. And if it's not easy to get, again, it's just to raise your awareness on what you might want to start working on in the future. But what we want to do here is do some real analysis on who is bringing the money into your business. So we're going to take a look at the 80-20. Who are the 20% of the customers that are bringing 80% of your revenue right now? So there's an exercise there that walks you through the key steps on getting that information. You'll see there, finding your sales by customer. All right, we're going to run a report from your bookkeeping system, whether that's Simply Accounting or QuickBooks or MYOB. You're going to sort that list in descending order. So hopefully you can export that to Excel and work on it from there. And once you do that, you're then going to take your revenue from last year, calculate 80% of that. So if you did $500,000 last year, your number is $400,000. And then we're going to sort through that list and start adding up the total sales volume by customer, starting at the top, all the way down until we get to the point where it adds up to $400,000. And for most businesses, we're going to find that's roughly 20% of your customers. This is not a standard rule that it has to be 20%. That's merely a guide. But what we want to do is to start to segment out the top customers that are providing most of your revenue. So go ahead and take a moment to do that. So you're exporting all your data, sorting it out, sales by customer, and then you're going to add up the total starting from the top until you get to the point where that sum of the totals equals 80% of your revenue. Go ahead and work on that. Okay, great. So hopefully you've managed to do that. If you've got the information there, you've now got a list of somewhere between 5 and maybe 30% of your customers contribute 80% of your revenue. And you'll see there is an example there on the last page, or one of the pages there in the workbook on how to do that. Depending on how many customers you've got, depends on how complex or simple that is. But even if you can't do it exactly, you'll start to get an idea of who your better customers are. And the idea is that we want to start matching up some of those characteristics that you wrote down at the start, see if they match up with those that are actually providing most of the revenue. And now we're going to take it one step further and actually look at some of the products and services that you sell and look at what they contribute to sales, and also the margin of those and what they contribute to profitability. Because when we get the picture of all those things, the characteristics, the top 20% customers, the top 20% products and services, we can start to look at that picture and see what it's telling us to really nail in and say, you know what, these are the customers that are buying the most stuff, they're buying the most profitable stuff, so this is who we want to be going after. Although some of this stuff, you might be looking at it and saying, you know what, I already know this, like what's the point in that? You're going to find that doing this analysis and just viewing your customers and getting a better understanding is going to arm you when it comes to writing the ad or deciding on the right marketing vehicle to use, because you're going to know the best way to attract that person who is the ideal customer. So now moving on to the exercise 2, which is looking at your top 5 products or services. We're going to do a very similar thing to the sales by customer, but this time we're going to do sales by product or by service. You're going to export from your QuickBooks or your Simply. Hopefully you can generate a report that's sales by product. and you can look at which ones contribute the largest amount to sales volume. So we're going to do that first, and then we're going to take a look at those 5 that come out as the highest sales volume. We're then going to analyze and look at the margin of those products, so we can start to see, of the top 5, which are the ones that are the most profitable. So go ahead and take some time to do that now. Okay, so you've done that. So now we've analysed our top 20% of customers. We've looked at our top 5 products or services. We now just want to compare the 2 lists and see, are our top 20% customers in fact buying the top 5 products and services? And within that top 5, you've also looked at which ones are the highest margin. So which are your most profitable products and services, and you want to see that your top customers are buying that. It's no good if you've got someone that just generates a lot of revenue for you, but there's no profit in that revenue. Then we don't really want more of that, because that just creates a whole lot of work for work's sake, not profit. Which, while marketing is largely about increasing revenue, we always want to be mindful of the bottom line and what drives profit. If you have one product that has a 20% profit margin and another one that has a 60% profit margin, we obviously want to be focusing on the 60. We've now got to see, are our ideal customers in fact buying that, or who are the customers that are buying that 60% product margin offering, and that's who we want to shape our marketing to. Once we've done that, we're going to then fill out the ideal customer profile, which is basically taking everything you've done to date and writing out the exact characteristics of the person or the company that you're looking to target. So if you're a B2B, meaning business to business, you're going to have 2 kinds of target. One is the type of business that you want to be targeting, and also within that, you might also want to identify the type of person within that business. Because, I mean, business is all about people. You can say, you know, we are best suited to companies that have 3 million in revenue, they buy this product, that product, and the other one, and they're in the automotive sector, right? That might be great, but if the actual person who does the buying in that business is not a great person to be dealing with, they're hard to get along with and they're difficult, well, that is not going to be a particularly good target for you, despite the fact that the business looks like it is the right sort of target. So you want to be mindful of both. If you're a business to consumer, like you're dealing straight with the public, well, then you're only going to fill out the first section, which is around the personal traits. So go ahead, fill that out. If you can't fill it all out, that doesn't matter. In time, you'll probably come back and get further clarity on this, but at least have a start of it. And the reason this is important is because when you are writing your marketing, when you're writing your copy, your headlines, and that's the stuff we're going to look at in Module 2, when you're writing that, it is so important that what you write resonates with the person you're writing it for. Because everyone is slightly different, and you know how a headline that one person might respond to completely doesn't resonate with another person. So we need to know who that person is so we can write with the best chance of success of resonating with the person we're trying to attract. So go ahead and fill out the ideal customer profile, and then we're ready to move on to the core offering part of the exercise. Okay, so you've had a look at filling out the ideal customer profile. Just before we jump into the core offerings, you'll see in your workbook there is a page with identity title samples. This is going to be really important when it comes time to actually write your copy and your headline. For your ideal customer, we're going to need to identify them by an identity title. So here are some examples on this page. You don't have to write this out now, but if you can think of the word, an identity title basically is, what is the word that someone would identify if they were to describe themselves? What words would they use that could be labeled as a title? So I'm a dad, right? So dad is an identity that I relate to. I'm Australian dads, right? If someone had a headline that said Australian dads, I would read that because I'm an Australian dad. If you are or even better still, Australian dad cyclist, right? I'm going to read that. I'm an Australian dad cyclist. If you know what the specific identity titles are of your ideal customer, go ahead and add that to the profile, because that's going to come in useful later in Module 2. On the core offerings, you've pretty much already done this part when you looked at your top 5 products and services and looked at the margins within that. It's basically, we just need to know which are the top ones that you want to be focused on. We're not going to focus on all 5. In fact, when you first start to put a campaign together in Module 2, you're going to pick just one of them. And so you want to know which is the first ones you're going to go to. It may be your highest margin, but maybe your highest margin is a really niche product and kind of hard to sell. So maybe it's your second or third highest. One that's kind of can get some volume around but still has decent margins. So you just want to know right now what the core offerings are that you're going to be focusing on. So when we get to that part in Module 2, you're ready to go. Okay, looking at your uniqueness or how you describe your USP for your business. This is probably one of the more difficult parts of writing your marketing blueprint. You know, everything to date is kind of stuff that you know pretty well. You know who your customers are, who you want your customers to be, and you've done the analysis on that. You know your products and services pretty well, and if you didn't know your margins, hopefully you do now. So when it comes to understanding uniqueness, this is where it can be a little hazy because you've got your perspective on what's different about you, but we've also got to consider from your customer's point of view what they believe to be unique and valuable. And it is a little subjective. So this is something you'll see in the workbook there, there's about 4 pages of questions to get you thinking and prime you to start to flush out what it might be that's going to resonate with the market that makes you different from your competitors. And the real way that you know this is when we start to test it in the marketplace. And you can go and ask your existing customers, why they buy from you. And that's one of the questions here in the USP questionnaire. Take some time to do this one. The others you may be able to blow through pretty quickly, but you might want to sit down and carve out an hour or 2 to do this part of the exercise. Be somewhere quiet. Even do it with someone else who knows your business well. Take some time to talk to some customers, get their feedback. But doing this one here, because you're going to answer all the questions in the questionnaire, and then you've got to sort of take all that information and flush out some wording around a USP or what you believe makes you different in the marketplace. So take some time to do that. It's pretty self-guided. If you've got any questions around this one, this would be a great one to bring up on the conference call. Send your questions in ahead of time. But basically take some time to go through that question there and then flush out to see if you can come up with some ideas around your USP. All right, have fun with it. So now looking at the investment side of your marketing blueprint. But the investment is obviously about how much you're going to spend or invest in marketing, and the decision you want to make here is purely a starting point to give you a guide. And we recommend somewhere between 5 and 8% of revenue as a starting point. Keep in mind that any money you spend or invest in marketing, in fact, should be an investment. We should get more back than what we spend. That can take some time to get to that point because we have to test and measure different things, but over time, you'll be at the point where you are in fact getting more back than what you spend. So really, the amount you invest in marketing is just it's the governing arm on how fast your business is going to grow. Now, some things that can change that ratio or that proportion. The main one is really physical location. If you are in a great physical location, you get lots of traffic, then you can afford to be spending a little bit less because you've already got people seeing your business, and maybe signage is a big part of your marketing. The other thing that might change that is if you are web-based, or even if you've got a physical location but you have a great URL and people just find you organically online, that can be another reason why you may need to spend less in marketing. It's all about the numbers in your business and what is required to attract the number of leads. Keeping in mind that, again, the investment you make should give you more back than what you're spending, and that's what we're training you to do in this program here. So go ahead and have a read of the workbook there and decide on a number that you want to start with. I mean, this is really about, so you're picking a number, so you've got if you pick a percentage of revenue, you forecast your revenue, it gives a budget for your marketing, and you can start to make decisions on what you want to do with your marketing vehicles based on that number. So go ahead and have a read of that section, and we will see you in ready to collate all this to the summary page. Okay, last step of the business blueprint. You've gone through and you've done great work on your ideal customer, you know your purpose, you understand your core offerings, you understand your uniqueness and any guarantees that you want to have, and last one is the investment. So all you have to do now is flip to the last part of this video one in the workbook. You'll see the summary page for your marketing blueprint. And all you're going to do is take all the bits that you worked on throughout the workbook and collate them here on this one page, and that's going to be your marketing blueprint moving forward. You'll see, I mean, you've probably got, it gives you a good idea now when you see all that, but even when you come back in Module 2 to start to build some campaigns, you'll be able to come back and reference this stuff and keep you guided and on track. So go ahead and fill out the one pager, and then we're ready to get into some marketing metrics.